So well, welcome everyone to the session today in this coaching cafe from the ICF LA chapter. We discuss leadership and coaching and how we can support leaders to develop coaching skills. So this is not necessarily only for coaches. It's an open cafe where we can discuss how coaches can support leaders, leaders can develop coaching skills to be more effective. And what we do is we cover and we discuss the chapter from my book, Lead with a Coaching Mindset. You don't need to read the book or have the book to participate. Basically, I share some content from the book and we discuss it. But if you're interested and you want to come prepare, we go by month. Each chapter is 1 month. So January was chapter 1, February chapter 2, today is chapter 3, next month is chapter 4. So we do that in that order. So today, the chapter 3 is called Mindset is Everything, Developing Your Inner Coach. So here the idea how we can support leaders to develop the inner conversation and the inner coach so they can work with professional coaches, but they can also develop the inner voice to be more coach-like and to be more effective at having coaching conversations, not professional coaching conversations, but coaching conversations with people at their work, their colleagues, their direct reports, their bosses, sometimes at home. Also how to build these coaching skills for life. Because I do believe the coaching skills are not only skills that coaches use professionally, but also my hypothesis or what I say here in the book is that if you bring these coaching skills to your life and you apply them in all relationships, you can enhance all your relationships, no matter who they are, at work, at home, everywhere you go. If you can be more present, you can build trust, if you can listen, you can enhance and build your relationships. Barry?
I just want to add to that. I agree 1,000%. After I got into coaching like 27 years ago, I don't know, some number of years in, I thought, wow, like I said earlier, coaching isn't something we do to the person, right? And in many ways, these are life skills. And once they start learning them, using them, and whether you're a coach or not, it's like, yeah, wow, how can I actually listen to my partner? How can I be specific and ask for what I want at the store, whatever it is? And so I'm with you 100% that I think they really are life skills that when we get them in our bones and then we do life, it's just something in our toolkit. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Gerardo, were you going to say something before? You raised your hand or not? No? Okay. So what we're going to be discussing today is a conversation. This is not a lecture, it's a dialogue. So we all participate and just facilitate the conversation. And if we have a bigger groups, we go to small groups. But here, since we have a small group, we just stay together. And we have a couple of people with the cameras off. If you can turn them on, will be helpful since we have such a small group. It's nice. I don't know, this is a lunchtime, so feel comfortable eating. It's okay because this is done purposely at lunchtime. So maybe you can have your lunch and be with them while you're having lunch. So feel free to eat, no problem at all. So in this chapter, I share a few ideas, but one of the ideas that I want to focus on today is how we create thinking environment, how we support people to think. And we do that with different roles. Some of us are coaches. Sometimes in this space we have leaders, sometimes both. Like Yesenia, you have a managerial job, but at the same time you are a coach. Sometimes you facilitate, sometimes you train. So in all of the different environments, how we create reflective spaces. And there is a framework that I really like from Nancy Kline called More Time to Think. And I explain this in my book. So I want to explore this with you today so you can all become familiar with More Time to Think. I also use this framework when I train coaching supervisors because I think supervision is a reflective space. And by the way, I am waiting for ICF to come up with some news about where it's going to be supervision next, because now, interestingly, ICF is coming up with new guidelines for mentor coaching. So it's adjusting. Not everybody is going to be able to be a mentor coach in the future. There are going to be some rules. So I think that we are advancing the profession, we are advancing coaching, and there are new ways and more professional ways to do different things. But when I train coaching supervisors, I focus on how we create reflective spaces, how we can help the coach to reflect and think. And this model applies to supervision in coaching, how the coach do that with their clients, and here in leadership, how we can support leaders to create reflective spaces at work. So with this thing in mind, with this context in mind, Nancy Kline says that the way that we think, the way that we work is all depending on how we think. And sometimes we may or may not be as aware about how effective or not we are at creating spaces for people to think. Most of the times we have this mindset that providing our wisdom, our experience is going to be supporting people to come up with better solutions. But the framework here is that by holding the space, we can co-create, and this is very ICF framework, co-creating, partnering, how we can co-create and partner with people so they can think better. And the framework is how we can do that today as coaches with our clients and supporting leaders for them to do that with their colleagues at work. So in this framework, there are 10 elements. So I'm going to go over these elements and I want you to help me to think about examples of how these elements play. I'm going to share a slide and I will share that with you later too, so you can have it. And so you don't need to take too many notes now. So let me see. Here we go. Okay, can you see it well? The 10 components of More Time to Think?
Yes.
Can you read it?
No. It's a little small. I'm gonna see if I can make it bigger.
What about now?
Oh, that's helpful, yeah.
Is it getting better now?
Even better, yep.
Okay, great. Okay, so basically, Nancy Kline, who has the book was so successful that she had like several editions, and every edition she put something new and something else. There are like 6 different editions. But if you look in Amazon, more time to think, then she had time to think, more time to think, and many versions after that of more time to think. Look for the latest one. She's making adjustments all the time. But I have the one that says called More Time to Think, the way to be in the world, a way to be in the world. She's not a coach. Her framework is for all kind of situations, more for facilitation than for coaching. So these are 10 key components. Number one is attention. To create a reflective space, element number one is attention. How we listen in a respectful way without interrupting. Without interrupting. So in this framework, you don't interrupt. Never, ever, ever interrupt. What I don't agree. Personally, I think that there is a space for interrupting, particularly when the monologue is not productive. Sometimes our clients or people will go and talk and talk and talk, but they stay at the superficial level and they don't really talk about what needs to be discussed. They talk and share a lot of information as a way to entertain their own mind and not having to deal with what they really need to deal. Have you seen that with people that sometimes they do that?
Absolutely.
They spend a lot of time giving you a lot of details about things, so they don't need to talk about what they really need to talk. So
And
in
some,
this so in this model, you don't interrupt, never ever. But I think in some circumstances, if you don't interrupt, at the end of the day, it would not be productive, the conversation, because sometimes the monologue is not productive. So you need to distinguish when is the right time to interrupt. Now, you do not want to interrupt because you are afraid that you're going to lose or you're going to miss what you're going to say. Can you hear the difference? That's the reason why we most of the time interrupt, because we are afraid that we're going to forget what we want to say. We definitely don't want to do that. So in this model, when we're holding the space for people to think, we may be listening and we may not interrupt till the person is quiet and we ask, can we go? And then we ask a question or a comment. Equality. In this framework, we treat each other as thinking peers. So we are partners here. We have equal terms and attention and keep agreements and boundaries about how we're going to be working together. But the most interesting part here is that issue of co-creating an equality. Then we have ease. So ease is about not rushing, just taking your time, don't feel in a sense of urgency that something needs to be solved. So you are relaxed. Appreciation. So something that is unique about this model that pay a lot of attention is this issue about not interrupting and always bringing an appreciative comment. So you cannot end a conversation, end a reflective space without appreciation, a genuine acknowledge of the other person. And she has a formula of 5-to-1 ratio of appreciation to criticism. So the idea is that from the 5 times, only 1 time you should be what we call criticism or focusing on what is not working or what needs to be different, and 4 in leveraging strength, looking at what is working. That's how she works. Then encouragement is giving courage to others to share their ideas without feeling judged. It's encourage the other person to participate, to be bold, to be vulnerable. So these are the first 5 components. So I'm curious to see what are your reactions to these 5 components. And let me stop sharing. So what I can do here is I can get this. Let me stop. Let me see if I can. They are in the chat box, as a guidance.
I actually have a comment, maybe a question as well.
Yes.
So the first one, it just strikes me like attention, but the description underneath feels more like it's about being present, like being present when you're there, when like right now, I am present, I'm looking at you, I'm not looking at, other things or thinking, I'm trying to be as present as possible. I struggle with the word attention because I feel like it's, I mean, I don't know if we're critiquing this at all, but I mean, I guess I just
No.
noticing this.
You can share your reaction.
Yeah,
That's
this
your
is,
reaction, and your reaction is valid, whatever it is.
yeah.
So it's interesting because that's a really valid point. And I think in this context, she's talking about presence. And I am wondering if she doesn't use the word presence just not to confuse her framework with mindfulness.
Hmm.
But is when you talk about mindfulness, when you talk about presence, many times we're talking about being mindful. And when being mindful is about paying attention to what's going on. So
Hmm.
here is the attention, you're paying attention, so you're being present. So the way that you demonstrate being present is by paying attention.
May I say a comment
Yeah, yes, go ahead.
from a TDA person who knows what it is attention? In these days, paying attention is the most difficult thing. Uh, as we are absolutely, if you are ADD, you have double problem as I. But everyone, we are absolutely distracting with the whole view of what is happening with the client, what is happening with my phone, what is happening with the machine, what is happening all around. And I think attention is important focus. So I mean, it's not a simple thing today. That's what I mean. If, of
I
course, being
agree.
present is basic, but today attention is a curious and complicated thing.
Yeah. I'm going to be honest. Like I train coaches programs and I ask people be present, have the camera on, the microphone on, just to be present. But when I take classes, I am multitasking. And I know, I know I can do it well. I know I can do it very well. But well, being honest here with you, very.
I agree with Geraldo. I grew up with undiagnosed ADD and doing much better, changed some things in my diet. I don't know that I would say I don't know that I say I'm triggered by the word attention, but I have much more capacity when I use the word intention. My intention to listen, to be present, to not be perfect, but like be with the flow and hear things. And for me, that just changes it from a little bit of a yesteryear trigger to how can I take what I'm really superpower with and be able to use it in the conversation or listening with the client. For me, it helps a little bit. I don't know if it does for anybody else.
But that's a good point. When you are going to be with somebody and you want to hold a space for people to think, how you prepare to create the conditions that allow you to be present.
That's really good. And
So it's
also,
coming up. Mhm.
yeah, I think for me as a coach and for the client or the clients too, sometimes I'll say, I don't always do this, it's more of an intuitive thing. Let's say somebody was late and they're driving down the road and the computer didn't work and whatever all the stuff is. And or sometimes I'll just go, oh, is there anything you need to be, a prerequisite? Sometimes you say clear or say or but sometimes it's like, yeah, sometimes it's important for them too. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you very for your comments. Elena, do you have any reactions or comments to these five? You're on mute.
Yeah. With me is not interrupting, and it's hard because sometimes it comes across as what they're saying is not important to me, but it's not that, is that I'll forget. So what I've been doing, and I don't know how successful this is because I just noticed that I had 3 clients that I did it with, and they were so busy trying to see what I was writing. And what I was writing is just like keywords to remind me as, the feedback or whatnot. So that's the part that I haven't mastered just yet, how to do it as far as coaching. With our marriage and family clients, it's not a big deal because most of them, I see them on Zoom. So I am writing, but the ones that are face to face is like, how do we handle that?
That is a good question. And then the question for you is, why do you need to write?
Well, I can make a comment. When I began my coaching, of course, and it was new here in Uruguay, and I was also learning, I need to take notes every moment
Yeah.
for everything. But what I do is just use a chart and just write it in a chart. And my client was there sitting, and I just put the important things which make me able to make final conclusions extraordinary because you, as Job says, join the points. ¿Cómo no es join the points? Es otra cosa, unir los puntos. And then you
Put the
can
point
make,
together, get the
yes,
points
you
together.
can
Yeah.
make, and you can make a great interpretation, explanation, or questioning or reflection about what you
Yeah.
said. But when it's the matter of having a strategy for each characteristic person.
Yeah.
So
Well,
for
we
me,
all
it
have
works well.
we all have. I realize I am interrupting you. Sorry. We all have. Here is an example. We all have different needs. So the idea is that sometimes by taking note is a way to help us to be present.
Claro.
And some people may argue that when you are taking note, you may not be as present because you're taking notes. So you can see it from different angles. Now, in the past, I like to take notes, and I do. So I'm not going to be here when I was asking you why you do that. It's like I do that, but I do like you. I just write words. What we do not want is clients to wait for us to finish writing for to continue the conversation. It's like if we write some notes, and sometimes we don't even need to read what we are writing. Now, a couple of things about writing is that what do we need to keep the attention? So, not necessarily, in my case, I think I am going to forget something. So, I want to be sure that I don't forget anything. But that is not what's going to make us better coaches or better listeners or better co creative of this thinking space. Because we're not looking for perfection. What we are looking is for self as instrument. So even though I don't think I have a good memory, I still trust that I will remember what is our conversation today or what happened in the past, that I will be able to bring something from the past that may be meaningful in the present. Because that's our goal. When we're taking notes, why are we taking notes? We're taking notes just as a way to help us with the concentration and the presence in the moment. And also because we think that these notes are going to help us to bring them later if we need to make a comment, an observation, or...
Well, maybe we take notes just not to interrupt.
That's
It's
me.
another reason. And when I want to share coaching mate. It's not coaching cafe, it's coaching mate.
Oh my goodness. I used to love
Coaching lunch and coaching mate. Okay.
So mate for people who do not know is like a drink that we
It's a drink of
in
South America.
South America, and it's like with a yerba mate is what they put
That's
inside,
right.
and it look like marijuana, but it's
I
not.
was just gonna say
No, but it's not no effect.
It's
I'm
not
normally
mocha,
like this.
it's matcha.
I don't need
It's
marijuana.
mate. But still wake you up, still help you to stay
Yeah,
awake.
that's the idea.
May I
It's
ask
to pay
Gerardo,
attention. I can pay more attention with it.
may I ask Gerardo a quick clarifying question?
Yes.
When you said a board or a chart, do you mean like in person with a
A
whiteboard?
flip-flop. A flip-flop. A
Yeah,
big
Flip
flip-flop.
flip
Oh,
flip
A
chart.
white flip-flop.
Flip flop is something else.
Yeah.
Something else.
I've been
Flip chart.
the reason I say is I go through the same thing as you, Elena, sometimes, and it's not all the time. The ones I do on Zoom, which is a lot. If it feels right, particularly in the beginning, I'll say, "Is it okay if I bring up a whiteboard?" I had a client the
Whiteboard.
other day.
That's me.
Whiteboard, same thing. I had a client the other day. I had never done a whiteboard with them for several months. And she goes, once we did, she goes, "This is amazing. I get it now." I didn't realize she wasn't auditory, you know? And so we did a whiteboard. But the other thing the whiteboard does, which is a flip chart kind of in person, is they at least on the whiteboard in Zoom, they can type things, they can do things. We do a balance wheel, and then we go back and forth, and then I mean, sometimes it helps me, sometimes it helps them, sometimes they'll say something and I'll just write it there. So that's just an interactive way of doing it. I don't know if that works for you, if you've tried it or not.
When I said so, I refer when I make all the presential sessions
But what Barry
face
said,
to face.
but
I never use it in Zoom,
Yeah.
but I use it in on the presential sessions.
what Barry suggested, you may try it. You know,
Yeah.
you may
Yes, of course.
experiment with that.
I
Because
can experiment.
for people who are visual, they
It's
have
very-
them to look it in the.
Try it and see. I can't, I mean, sometimes I need to do it for me, it's frankly, and sometimes I don't know. The other day we were doing something like a balance wheel, you know, perspective wheel. I can do it. We can do it without. Oh, there we go. Perfect. Perfect.
Gada, how are
I
you?
was
Thank you
going
for.
to play with it without telling you guys, but you guys
Yeah.
are very sharp.
Yeah. So this is. Oh, bring it back up. Bring it back up.
Oh,
I was just gonna give a little example. Have you done balance wheels, perspective wheels, where you do a pizza pie? I don't know if you guys know this one. You know, I go, okay, let's talk about some. Oops, that's not what.
Not everybody's playing.
Yeah, basically, I draw a circle. I put some slices. I talk about pizza. What kind of pizza do you like? Okay, and show get more slices. Where do you go to get pizza? You know, if that works for them. Sometimes it's not pizza, but and then you know it's visual. But here's the thing: I don't always do it. I try to have them do it, and then it's like it's just like it's no different, but instead of auditory, it's interactive. It may work. See.
That's great. Gada have.
Yeah.
Hey, how are you?
Hi, I'm sorry, but I cannot open the camera right now because it's almost 10 p.m. here.
Okay.
I just want to share with you one comment about writing notes. I've already asked many MCC people before, and they always say, no, don't take notes. This is going to be interrupting for your clients, and maybe they won't feel comfortable to do that. So now from what I hear from you, and I totally agree, because sometimes you need to write notes, but sometimes I ask my clients, do you mind if I take some notes and we can share it with you later on, so he feel more comfortable in general. But I can see there is different schools or different opinion or different perspective about taking notes. But for us as a coach, I believe it's important because with lots of information during the session, it's really difficult to remember all the what we discussed.
Well, the
Thank you.
advantage today with the technology, Gada, is that if you do a Zoom session like today, for example, if you have approval from people, if they accept the being recorded, you don't need to even record the video or sound, just the transcript of the conversation. And then when you finish, you can share the transcript. So that's a resource. And I used to do that, but then I realized that my client didn't go back to the transcript and the notes. It was but that's a resource that we can take advantage to for ourselves. It's like we can go over the transcript with the notes of what happened in the session without have to worry, but can be time consuming. But today also, you can put that information in AI and ask AI to do a summary for you. So,
Yeah.
like,
Of course.
like you can see, there are many different ways that you can take advantage of technology to
Absolutely.
support us with this. But what is, at the end of the day, what I think the underlying conversation is, what are the needs? What are the needs of the clients and what are the needs that we have professionally as coaches? Can you hear that? It's like, okay, what are we doing based on these different needs and how we balance them?
Absolutely.
Are we supposing that we are so intelligent and the client is so intelligent that maybe they need those notes in the whiteboard? Meaning that they also have the same problem of us. They maybe forget or get in the conversation and they can
Co-create that.
just co-create with where they see that word that help them
Yeah.
too. I think it's a very useful thing. Of course, there are different ways, schools and things that is supposed to be more professional. We are more professional when we consider what the client needs and what we need to do a better work.
Right. I just want to say towards that, I usually ask them, do you want to do a whiteboard? I ask them for a version of permission. And after we've done one, at some point, then they say, no, I'm not, or yes, I am. And the other thing is, I ask them if they want to take a picture of it. Some do a screenshot, some do a picture. And I'd say the majority of it that we do some collaborative work together, they shoot a picture. Now, whether they go back to it or not, I don't know. I know that for me, I'm pretty visual, so if I see something, it sticks better. So just another tool, I think, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah. I want to share with you the other five. So we finish the whole model, so you are familiar with this framework. Um, if you see the next five are feelings, being willing to pay attention, how the emotions or the feelings are impacting the space and bringing them when appropriate, or feel or paying attention if the feelings are in their way in some way to thinking. Like if we are very upset and very angry, we may not be able to be effective at thinking. So emotionally, we need to also be in a state that allow that space. When you're thinking, you get information, so you look for facts, look for different sources that will help to make decisions or to think about issues that are being discussed. But you need to have quality information. And sometimes if you do not have the information, that can be an issue for thinking. Because if you do not have all of the information, you cannot process what's going on. Diversity is welcoming divergent thinking and diverse groups' identities, is accepting and embracing different ways of looking at things, incisive questions. So this is what we call in coaching powerful questioning. So what help with the thinking are the questions that we are asking and being aware of our assumptions that we have. And finally, the place. It should be an environment that allows the thinking. If you don't have that in place, they may be giving the message you don't care, you don't matter. So a physical environment means being sure that you may not have these conversations where you are in a walking to one place to another, or if you are in a place that is very noisy and there is no confidentiality. So these are all elements that affect the thinking. So let me copy and this so I can put it in the chat box. Kim.
Place would mean context.
Uh, Thanks. My question is, do you know if these are in any priority order? I mean, like the
No.
reason they're like in that order, like why is place at the very last one? Does it, or there's no rhyme or reason to it?
No, I don't think there is a reason. It's just they are all important. They are all elements.
Okay.
So it's like for you to pay attention when you are creating this, holding the space for thinking. Are you paying attention to is there enough information? If there is a right place? Are you being encouraging? Like all of these different elements. And I find them interesting. I really like the model, and I recommend her book. I think it's an interesting framework, particularly if you are coaching and doing other activities. Like in supervision, for example, coaching supervision is mandatory for the program. If you are facilitating or teaching, you can include this framework in that doing that kind of work. So these are all different places where, and as a coach, definitely you can also apply this to coaching. But that's a
Thank
good question, Kim. Do you have, will you see some of these will be more important for you than others?
yes.
Hmm.
Well, no, I mean, I'm looking at it like it's just no, they're all important, right? Like whether it's places number 10 or places number one. Obviously, that is just as important as asking incisive questions and welcoming you different thinking and all of that. That's all, I guess, all equally important.
Great. Yesenia?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was still munching, but I wanted to go back to the first five.
Hmm.
One of the things that struck me was the equality, treating each other as thinking peers. Like I really appreciate that. And I think that's great when you're doing a coach, you're with a coachee. But when you're with your staff, like when I'm thinking about my staff, and I'm trying to be a coaching leader, it's a different kind of thing, right? Like I'm not coaching them or, I'm thinking differently. So I think um creating those agreements and boundaries are so important because that's something that we normally lack when we're doing coaching as a leader and not as a coach. Like if I'm coaching, we have agreements, we have an understanding, but it's different. And I think that's something that I would need to really focus on because I don't think I've really sat and had boundaries discussions with my staff. So I think that was really something that struck out to me because I always think of them as thinking partners. That's what I call them, my thinking partners. But this boundaries, because I think it's different. That's something that just kind of struck out for me.
Yeah, and what is interesting is that sometimes you may propose that equity, but even though you have that intention, that doesn't mean necessarily that the other person will see you in that way. Even in coaching or even in supervision, that we keep saying, okay, we are equals here, but many times the client may not feel you as an equal, and there are two possibilities. Some client, like some executives in companies, may feel you as an equal. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they may put you down, or the contrary, they will put you up. They put you in the pedestal, which is a very dangerous place to be. In the pedestal, it's really dangerous because you go up fast and you come down fast too, from that place. So it's like that equality is an intention. It's how we create a condition for that may or may not happen, no matter what. We may want to be equals, but the other person may not be seen as equals. And sometimes Yesenia is like by trial and error and building the relationship over time, they can see that you really mean it and you do it. You know what you're saying only, okay, let's think here as equals. You demonstrate that when you make decisions, you engage and incorporate their thinking. Many times leaders engage their teams to make decisions, but then they end having the last word that is not what the team wants. So sometimes you wonder, okay, if something that you are going to do, be careful not to engage people if you're not going to be using what everybody decide. That can be tricky. Barry, you're on mute.
Just before I go on, I want to say that that is a challenge in organizations. Because on one hand, you're trying to be equal, possibly. On the other hand, whether you are or the other people are, there's authorities in there. There's an authority, a parent, a boss, a principal, whatever. So it is. I hear you totally. It's a real dance, I think. I'd like to know if you could bring up that same screen, that share screen of the last half, because there was a couple I wanted to ask about.
Yes, I put that in the chat box.
It's the one about facts and something denial.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to dig into this a little bit and see what it might mean.
Okay, so you can see this in the chat box if you want to follow that.
It's
For some reason,
It's not very clear, at least not on my end. It starts with supplying the facts
yeah,
and
something is not,
dismantling
yes,
denial.
yeah, something is not right in when I copy
yeah,
and paste for some reason.
there's a missing piece.
Yes, you're right. Let me know. I don't know why that's happening.
I'm assuming it's something like in conversations with the client, assuming that's the
6 and 7 is missing.
Yeah, I don't know why that happened because of it. So
okay,
let me.
thanks. So there we go. Information. That's it. Information. So supplying the facts and dismantling denial. I mean, the way I'm not sure what it means. The way I'm kind of interpreting it is we talk back and forth and you say, okay, is this happen? Did this happen? Is it really this? Is it you? Is it them? Kind of what the facts are. And then I assume dismantling denial could be getting clear or maybe helping them shift some limiting beliefs. But I'm not sure what they meant by dismantling denial.
Yeah, so by providing information and discussing the data, you may be looking at things that you are denying that are not there and you're not paying attention to. So it's a way to pay attention to what's happening by collecting data and information that will help to make the right decisions. But it's about exactly what you said, Barry. It's about what are the beliefs that people are having.
What are their beliefs? What are their values?
And how that is in their way, and how that may be in their way to collect, sometimes to collect evidence that will go against what people are thinking. So many times, if you want to go in one direction, you don't look for information that will support you to prevent issues because that may not work. So that I think is in that direction that is presented in the book. Yeah. Okay, it's time to start wrapping up. We have our last 10 minutes. I wonder where everybody is. Let's hear from everyone any last thoughts about this framework, anything that come up for you, how you can use it in your work as a coach, working with leaders, anything that come up for you that you think that you can benefit from doing this. And I am going to share with you this document. Let me put it here. Just a second.
Well, maybe I can make a comment. I get to coaching many, many years ago when I worked with Dale Carnegie. Dale Carnegie training, and Dale Carnegie created the first and real principles regarding relation. I mean, what we are speaking is that everything depends on trust and relation. And when I was a trainer, I became a trainer and we made coaching, and that's the reason that I became to do coaching. I recommend to get a revise of those principles, which I find very similar with some of these, said in different ways and simple ways that apply for leadership and of course for coaching. So I just make that connection. No? You can make the don't criticize, don't condemn, don't complain, give honest and sincere appreciation, give arouse in the other person an eager want, become genuinely interested in other people, smile, remember names, be a good listener, take in terms of the other person's interests, and make the other person feel important. Those are simple bases which really, for me, were important on my way of getting a better leadership. And after, when, of course, when you incorporate coaching, you can add it. But when that's what a reflection of what these 10 principles remind me.
Thank you for sharing that, Gerardo. We have Gada also want to make a comment, Gada?
Yeah. I just want to share with you about equity. And when you talk about the balance between male and female, still, I believe in some culture is not that easy. So how can we convince, especially women leaders, on how to use equality? And I'm Egyptian and I live in Kuwait, and you know the situation now in Kuwait in the
Yeah.
GCC in general. So I'm starting to build coaching in organization and giving a session about how to coach with how to lead with the coaching mindset. But still, it's a new concept. So when it's come to equality, is there any practice or anything that they can use to implement this? Because it's easy to say that just equality, but how to train yourself on these parts, like as a leader, I mean.
That's
Thank
great.
you.
Well, first, Gada, I really recommend that you get the book,
Yes,
that I wrote,
definitely.
because
Yeah.
this book is going to help you with what you want to create. And then sometimes culture is more stronger than any techniques or things that you can do. So how you go around that is by building relationships and people trusting you. You can inspire other women to look at ways to be more effective, more assertive, or whatever. But they are always going to find forces against them that are cultural. And then you have the culture of the country, and then you have the culture of the organization.
Right.
So some organizations may be more or less, um,
Multicultures. Yeah.
yeah, can be more or less open to other people and diversity. So yeah, so
Thank you.
that's so you can be very inspirational. But if you go back to your organization and in your
Exactly.
work, you don't have the support, it's very tricky because it goes beyond what we can do. What is important, what I always like to ask myself is what is in my power? What are the things that I can do? And look into that. So that got with the question for you. What are the things that you can do when you meet these other leaders, particularly these women, how you can support them, inspire them, empower them, or do whatever may support them to do what they need to do to the extent that they can to make a difference. And again, it's always going in all directions. It's like I'm telling you, okay, what is what you can do, what you cannot do, and then you do the same with
Yeah,
them. What is what you can do and what you cannot do. But the most important part of our job is when we think that we do not have any control and we do.
absolutely.
This is the most interesting piece for me is when I work with my clients and I ask them, are you familiar with Stephen Covey? Areas of
Yeah.
influence.
Mhm.
It's very famous that most of the time we think what we can influence is limited by what we think may be influenced. And sometimes the circle can go a little bit bigger than what it is.
Absolutely.
It's
Thank you
like
so much.
it's like the
Yeah.
other side of being resigned. It is the other
Yeah.
way of being resigned. Okay, you cannot change
Takes
because of
time.
culture. Yeah. Okay, let's
Thank
go
you.
around.
The,
Let's
the
hear.
word the word here that can help is encouragement.
Yeah, yeah,
I agree.
For what you're saying,
absolutely.
encouragement would be way
Yeah.
interesting. Very interesting all, Mr. Damian.
Thank you, Gerardo, for being here. Okay, let's go around. Just anything you want to say before we go?
I just have a
No,
quick question. Oop, excuse me. I just wanted to know the title of the book, Damien.
The more time to think
Oh, more time.
from Nancy Kline. I'm going to write it here. More time to think. I share with you a handout. I use this handout in my supervision program, but we do an exercise, we do an activity with this. So I just share the whole handout so you can see what kind of activity we do there. Um, okay, here we go. So these are that's the book. It's in the chat box. Highly recommend it. I think that people love that book. Aline, anything you want to say before we go? You're on mute.
Any words of wisdom?
Any words of wisdom? Yes.
No, I think this was great. And I really appreciate the space that you're providing for us in order for us to be able to get these things out. Because really, my friends don't care about my business, neither does my family. So it's great to be able to have a space where we could talk about it.
That's great.
Thank you.
Keep coming, because I think these spaces I really enjoy. We have a small intimate group. I think that I think it worked out well. But if you keep coming, we continue the conversation. So
Nice.
next time we're going to talk about the competency number 4, that is contracting and agreement, and
Oh,
that is Yesenia, related to what you were talking about. That how you set up these boundaries. So Yesenia, anything you want to say?
I'm like, I haven't been coaching for a little bit. I've had a lot of stuff in my mind, but I thought I'm like super excited after this training. I'm like, I have to get back into it. I need to call my ex-clients we've done our sessions. I'm going to call them up. I'm a mom, and that's really what I want to focus on. I have a school full of moms. I have a 6-year-old. There's a whole bunch of moms there. And so that is an audience that I can tap into. So I'm going to think about how I could tap into that.
Yeah.
So
Good
I'm
luck. Good luck
excited.
with that. That's great to hear. Kim, anything you want to share?
If I can get off mute, there we go. Yes, I'd like to share that that whole framework you shared is something I've never seen before. So thank you. I learned something today. I appreciate that.
Good. This is my goal, exactly, to bring something new or different.
Mm-hmm.
Barry?
For me, it was the space, the conversation. I think having framework to talk about it, and what I really got is some of the situations could come up for any of us, and it's like knowing that other people, I'm not going to say have the same problem, but run into this or have this,
Mhm.
you go, oh, I'm not alone. So it was very good.
Great. Gerardo, anything you want to say?
Just thank you. And now, when I heard Yesenia about her new target, I am redirecting my target to companies that have neurointelligent people that are not discovered in the business. I am working on a project regarding that.
Cool.
Because it's interesting when you are. I defined not neurodiversity but neurointelligence, and we are working with I am ADD, and the other person is ¿cómo se dice? Bueno, lo otro. And
ADHD?
no, la otra
Asperger's?
la otra.
I cannot go
Este,
to all of them differently.
bueno,
I
with
put
it's going to be difficult to work with my Alzheimer, but I will
Alzheimer's,
reach it and I
okay.
will I will get it over, and I am in that project. And these things always help. So thank you very much.
Great to
And
have you
I
here.
like this kind of meetings where we are not so much and you can uh, interact.
Yeah. Connect more with people. And Gaba, anything you want to say before we go?
No, thank you so much. I really enjoyed, and hopefully we can attend more sessions soon.
Yeah,
Thank
so we always meet the second or third Wednesday of the month.
Perfect.
So it's always at the same time during lunch, so you can feel free to bring your meal. So it's always the third Wednesday of the month at this time, 12 p.m. Pacific. And God, since you are in Kuwait, I wish that things end soon.
Hopefully.
Yeah,
Yes, thank you.
and I think it's really worrying and
Bad.
sad. So I hope that all of this ends as soon as
Thank
possible.
you. Thank you. Thank you.
Good seeing everyone. Some of you, I hope to see you tomorrow. Lina, we see you tomorrow. Kim, if you can make it, Yesenia, if you can make it to the Angelina Hotel at 6:30 p.m., we're going to be fun.
Yep. See you
To
all
meet
there.
in person.
Bye.
Bye.
Take
Bye.
care.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Good night.